Hello again. Today we will be cooking delicious Polish dumplings. Pierogi are also known as ruskie, but these days that's not a very popular name, so we'll call them just pierogi. Pierogi can have various fillings, from meat to vegan, both sweet and savory. Today's pierogi will be a vegetarian delicacy, once a staple for the less affluent part of Polish society. To prepare the filling, you will need 2 kilograms of peeled and boiled white potatoes, 750 grams of white cheese, cottage cheese, 2 kilograms of white onions, and 100 grams of butter. For the dough, you'll need 1 kilogram of all-purpose white flour and 600 milliliters of warm water. On top of those, you will need salt and pepper. Boil the potatoes in their skins, put them in cold water and cook over high heat. Do not add salt to the water. The potato skins, which you'll peel after boiling and cooling, will add flavor. Potatoes should cook for about an hour, but the time depends on their size. They should be soft on the inside when ready. Peel the onions. In the world, there are many chefs who say that onions will make you cry, especially when peeling, chopping, or getting hit by them. However, we know their secret. Have you ever noticed how Gordon Ramsay always yells at his staff? Yes, he harnesses the secret power. Gordon collects the tears of his chefs to secretly drink them at night and absorb their strength. Chop the onions finely, of course. Look at us, that's how we do it. Once you have chopped the onions and consumed your own tears, heat a pan and melt the butter on it. When the pan is hot enough and the butter is liquid, add the onions. Don't worry about the large quantity. Onions contain a lot of water and they will reduce to a manageable amount. Temporarily cover the onions, stirring occasionally. You can also check if they are soft enough. If they are, remove the lid to let the excess moisture evaporate. If the potatoes can be easily pierced with a fork or knife, you can drain them. We unfortunately forgot to record this step, but we have voice instructions. 1. Make sure you're wearing kitchen gloves because hot water is hot and can scald. 2a. If you don't want to use a colander, you can slightly tilt the lid to uncover the potatoes and tip the pot toward the sink to drain the water. 2b. If you are concerned about your safety, which is always a good idea, you can use a colander. Pour the potatoes from the pan into the colander and let it drain, then transfer the drained potatoes back to the pot. 3. Place the drained potatoes in a cool place, but not in the fridge or freezer, to cool for at least a few hours. Hey, no one said it would be quick. You can also cook the potatoes a day in advance and leave them in the kitchen until the next day. We sent our potatoes on a little garden trip. Oh look, they're sitting on a chair waiting to cool down. Check the onions from time to time and stir them. When they turn brown, remove them to cool. Once the potatoes have cooled, gently peel them. The less you remove, the more flavor you'll have. If there are any black spots on the potatoes, you can simply cut them off or scoop them out because they become tougher during cooking and come off easily. After you have peeled the potatoes and the onions have cooled, take out your meat grinder or potato masher. It can be manual or electric, like ours. Place an extra container under the outlet, turn on the device, and make sure you have the pusher because using your hands with such a device is dangerous. Well, you know. If you can't find the pusher, you can use a spoon. Just don't insert it too deeply. After grinding all the potatoes, grind the cheese. You don't need to clean the machine because it will push the remaining potatoes deeper into the grinder. Of course, do not use your hands to push as it's dangerous. To push the cheese through completely, take some already ground potatoes and stuff them so that they grind again and push out the remaining cheese. Transfer this finely ground mixture to a larger container, add the cooled onions and season with 3 flat teaspoons of pepper and 4 teaspoons of salt. Mix it with whatever you find most comfortable. If it's not flavorful enough, you can add more salt or pepper. Your delicious filling is ready. Now you need to prepare the dough. Empty most of the bag, leaving about 50 to 100 grams of flour in it, and form a small mound. Then, create a well in the center, add the salt and pour in a bit of water, mix as much as you can, and then add more water. And mix until everything comes together into a non-sticky mass that won't stick to your hands. Of course, you can use a mixer for the dough, which would do the job for you, but where's the fun in that? In our recipe, we don't use eggs or any magical products. They're not necessary. You only need 1 kilogram of flour, 2 pinches of salt, and 600 milliliters of warm water. We use coarse flour in our recipe, but regular flour works just as well and will be equally delicious. From the whole dough, take about a fifth, and with the remaining flour, sprinkle a bit on the countertop. Then roll out the dough with rolling pin, flipping it from time to time until your dough is as thin as a sheet of printer paper, folded 3 times. If anything starts to stick during rolling, you can dust the dough or the countertop with extra flour without going overboard. Once your dough is suitably thin, take a glass with a relatively narrow edge and not too large in circumference and cut out circles for the dumplings. The remaining dough can go back to be reused. Place each circle between your thumb and index finger, put a little filling with a small spoon and fold the dough around the filling with your other hand, making sure nothing spills out beyond the circle. Seal the dough around the filling with your fingers, ensuring there are no openings left during the sealing. Voila! Repeat this process until you run out of dough or filling. Put 3 liters of water over high heat in a pan until it boils. Add about 2 flat tablespoons of salt to the water and put in 12 to 16 dumplings, depending on the pot size. Right after placing them in the water, gently stir to prevent them from sticking to the bottom, but be careful not to damage them. These cook for about 3 to 5 minutes, until they all float to the surface. You can also stir them halfway through the cooking to avoid sticking to the pot's bottom. When pierogi float to the surface, cook them for another 2 minutes. Remove the cooked pierogi onto a plate or into a bowl. If you are cooking more, you can add some butter or oil to prevent them from sticking together, or you can serve them immediately. You can eat pierogi as they are, with sour cream or fried onions. If you've made a lot, you can arrange them onto a cloth to cool, turning them occasionally, and freeze them. Later, you can reheat them in a pan with a little water. You can also fry the dumplings until crispy to add depth to their flavor. We hope you enjoyed this recipe and will soon enjoy these as much as we do.